I would normally start out by saying a good day, everyone, but today is not a good day. Roe v. Wade was overturned, seemed by a 5-4 vote, and yeah, it's horrible. Republicans have actually taken away rights from women. They did it, and they did it on something that I completely disagree with. So before I go a little bit in depth about this, about why it's horrible and why I think Republicans are demons in human flesh and whatnot, I wanted to go over something real quick. Okay. All right. So it's going to be a little bit of a thought experiment. So for those of you that are very pro-life, oh, life begins at conception, blah 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 blah. I just want to do a little thought experiment with you guys. Okay. And this kind of goes over my thought process and everything like that. So for those of you that don't know, I am of the opinion that life begins at conscious thought, not at conception. And based on what we know, conscious thought occurs between weeks 24 and 28, which is pretty much like the third trimester, okay? That's what a lot of people are on about, okay? So when you talk to most Americans are going to say, hey, yeah, abortion's fine up to like the third trimester, okay? So let me just go over this a little bit. So before then, there's no conscious thought, none at all. Right? But well, you're talking to a person who's a conservative, right? So they haven't done critical thinking skills. So you ask them, you're like, hey, man, can you do a thought experiment with me real quick to kind of just gauge out where your morals are? And you tell them about how the conscious thought occurs in weeks 24 to 28, okay? You then give them a hypothetical scenario to kind of just gauge where their thought process is. You're like, okay, so you believe life begins at conception. Life is life. And they're like, yes, it is. Okay? You say, okay, well, we're going to put you in a imaginary situation. So you have two fertilized infants or fetuses, whatever you like to call them, in front of you, one of which is a day old, and the other is 24 to 28 weeks old, around that margin. Now, you have to choose to kill one of these. You have to. This is the hypothetical that is given towards people that are trying to weed out where people's morals stand from. And the thing is, they will never say to save the one-day-old fertilized egg. But why is that? They're both equivalent, right? They're both life. It doesn't fit logically. Even conservatives, when you talk to them, don't believe in this. It's just they haven't thought critically about it at all. So we get to this point where we have conservatives that haven't done any critical thinking on when a fetus is different and when it should be considered a life, because clearly they don't actually consider the one-day-old fertilized egg equivalent to the 24 to 28-week-old. They don't. So then they should have a different definition of it. And you know what most people that have thought critically about this think? Oh, that's probably when you shouldn't have an abortion. But not conservatives. No. What they will do is they don't think critically about it, and they'll just take women's rights away. And this is why people like me, we'll call them demons in human flesh. Specifically, not just because of that, though. So they're not only forcing women to carry to term, right? Like forcing them specifically. So now that if you're not in a blue state, now if you get raped and you get pregnant, you're going to be forced to carry this to, full term. If your state has laws pretty much banning abortion and everything. I think Texas has laws. I think there's like 15 states that already do. They're then going to, because conservatives are once again against social safety nets, not give you benefits to help your children. They not only want to force you to have a child, but they want you to force you to have a child, pretty much go into poverty, and, have your child starve or forced to give them up to adoption, which, by the way, is already underfunded as well. And, they just, if you're not with their whole cause, if you're not a two-parent household, heck, you even could get unlucky and have your husband die during pregnancy or something like that. They don't care. They live in this fantasy world where it's this white picket fence, these two-parent household families. There's no gays here. This type of life is just non-existent. And this is what I mean when I say Republicans like to base their legislation off of how they wish the world was. Okay? And Democrats, left-leaning people, we like to base our legislation off of how the world is. And that's the big difference, is people on the right just lack a critical thinking mind. And because of this, they'll pass legislation to others that'll drastically affect them and restrict their rights. And it's also why I will call them demons in human flesh, or ontologically evil. This is a horrible, horrible thing. Yeah. I don't know what else to say. I'm at a loss for words. That something that's been around almost 50 years just got repealed. We're going backwards in time. You have to always keep your foot on the pedal for going towards progressivism. This is insane. It is absolutely bonkers to me that we're going back in time. Anyways, that is the video. If you'd like to give it a thumbs up, like, share, comment, subscribe as always, and peace out.